This morning, Dr. Kenneth Mash. He is the president of APSCUF, the faculty union at the State System of Higher Education Schools, including, of course, IUP. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be on.
It's good to have you with us here today. We've got a number of things to talk about. First of all, and at the very top of the list, new interim chancellor for the State System schools. You've had a chance, I assume, to speak with her since she was named interim chancellor. What are your first impressions?
Yeah, I haven't actually had an opportunity to sit down with her in this capacity. I do know her, of course, because she was the president of Clarion University. So, we're at a period here where we really feel like we have to all work together to try and make the system the best that it can be, given the circumstances we have to operate under.
When she was initially named, you wrote about the fact that you were getting a lot of calls from people not exactly thrilled with the appointment, with her management style, and with other issues with her tenure at Clarion. Have you continued to receive those sorts of reactions from your members?
Yeah, there's a soft spot at Clarion. Clarion is one of our universities that still has a letter on the table that calls for the possibility of laying off faculty members. So that's certainly a sore spot there on that Clarion campus. And then on top of that, there were issues at Clarion. But I'm looking forward to meeting with her in the near future and, hashing things out and trying to do the best that we can for the system.
She, of course, started her day yesterday with a visit to Slippery Rock. Today she's here in Indiana at IUP. As you, as the head of the faculty union, as you relate to the presidents of the local chapters, and IUP being one of those, about issues such as an interim chancellor, such as contract negotiations, the letters you referenced, the retrenchment letters, what sort of feedback is there from one entity to another in speaking with the folks here when some issue comes up? I'm just interested in the cooperativeness of it all.
You mean with the university itself?
Now, between the different chapters, is it pretty much a united front?
Oh, I when it comes to unity, I don't think there's a union out there that is more unified than APSCUF is. All the chapter presidents are very supportive of one another, and they look for ways to help them out. And then we here at the state organization, we see it as our mission to help our chapters out when they are in difficult circumstances. And when it comes to an issue like laying off faculty, that's a very difficult spot for the university. It sends bad messages about the university to the public. It really kills morale on the campus, not just for those people immediately affected who may have given their entire lives, and treated their job as a vocation, and now suddenly are being told that they have to leave. And it also has an impact on students because obviously there aren't going to be the same number of classes and programs that are available. So we try and find ways to try and avoid retrenching faculty, and in the circumstances where it's absolutely necessary, we try and find circumstances so that the faculty can possibly move to another university. And as I said before, we all work cooperatively.
APSCUF, of course, being the faculty union and you being the head of it, you've been able to have a front row seat for the last 8 or 9 years when there have been so many financial woes and the state system struggling in terms of enrollment and catching up financially with some of the issues that have been going on. Do those sorts of struggles that the state system has been undergoing for the last decade or so, do they have as big an impact on enrollment and therefore on security at the campuses as we might think?
Well, I think it does have an impact on the campuses. It does have an impact on enrollment. Look, the biggest issue that we have still stems from 2011. In 2011, the state system took an 18% cut from the legislature and the then governor. The governor wanted to reduce the budget by 50%. The legislature went down to 18%. And while in the last few years the governor has recommended and the legislature has responded and increased our budget, 4.5%, then 2.5%, and this year the recommendation was for 2%, that still does not make up in any way for the major cut that had happened. And when we look at the actual enrollments at the state system as a whole, we're about where we were 10 years ago. We just don't have the same kind of funding. So in order to be able to operate, the costs get pushed to the students. And when we're talking about our universities, which are largely in rural areas, and our mission, which is to really serve the working class families of Pennsylvania, what we've done is, because we have to pay the bills, increase tuition, or done things like at Indiana, like move to a per credit tuition plan, which is more expensive, increased fees, and done other things. And when we look at our population of students, they're the ones who can afford this the least. So that pressure to pushing the burden to the students, I think, has had a dramatic impact on the capacity of students to attend the universities.
Dr. Kenneth Mash is with us, president of APSCUF, the faculty union at the State System of Higher Education Schools, and we're talking about some of the issues his union has been dealing with in relation to the state system universities. Last year at this time, we were talking about a strike. I'm not sure the exact dates. I don't think the strike had occurred just yet. But by the time it was finally settled, there had been a walkout, the first in the history of the state system schools. And the contract that was settled upon, because the union had actually worked for a couple of years under the terms of an expired contract, the contract that was settled on, turns out, is going to expire again here in June of next year. So that cycle, you're right back on it, and in a rather quick fashion. I know the first round of negotiations has taken place. Do you think that work stoppage last year sort of added some urgency to what's going to be this round of negotiations?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, nobody wants a repeat of what happened last year. And, of course, we have new players involved in the state system level. So, what we're hoping to do is to change that pattern. And immediately up front, and I've been saying since last year, that we need to look at how we can, resolve contract issues and work on the process itself, because you can have Republican governors negotiating with the statewide unions, and they manage to get a contract within a relatively short period of time. We seem to be the only union where we go a year plus without being able to negotiate a contract. And so at our first meeting, we had some discussions about how we might improve that process, meet more regularly, schedule meetings ahead of time, share data and information more appropriately. We put some ideas out, and I have to say so far the state system has been more than willing to go along with those things.
Changes at the top, of course, will certainly have an impact on the talks. What do you see as being the major issues that will be a part of the next round of negotiations and, therefore, the next contract?
Right. Money is always an issue. There's no getting around that, and I think that that's certainly the case. But it's very difficult to predict what kinds of changes the state system might want to suggest to make to our contract. And that's really where we had the issues last time, is that they wanted to make so many dramatic changes to our contract, and specifically singled out our adjunct faculty who were in the weakest position. And we felt like we had to make a stand for those people who were, the least capable of standing up for themselves and in the worst financial position. So, I am very proud of our faculty across the system, the way that they reacted both to stand up for those people and also for the quality of education that we provide, that we were not willing to lessen the quality of education in order to be able to save money for the universities.
Board of Governors certainly is looking at the strategic overhaul. The review of that is going on right now. I'm sure APSCUF is reviewing it as much as the Board of Governors is. What's your impression of the strategic review and some of the recommendations?
Well, there's a lot of recommendations in there. I think it's much easier to put things on paper than it is to actually implement those things. Some of those things I think are going to be very difficult because they would require legislative changes. But I do know that there's a number of things in there, and I've always made the case, tried to make the case at least, to the system, that a lot of this is about leadership. And, you can talk about how you are not able to get things done because of specifics and procedures and things like that. But when you have the right leadership at the top, they can build cooperation and manage to get things done. And one of the themes that ran throughout all of those recommendations was the need to work more cooperatively. And that's certainly something that is within our control and within the control of the state system. And I'm looking forward to acting on that as soon as possible.
Dr. Mash, I want to thank you for being with us this morning on Indiana in the Morning. We're getting up toward the end of our time together, but you've been very informative for us. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. We'll see you.